All right, I'm going to take you through the paint thinning process right now using latex paint. You want to make sure you have all the materials on hand to get the process done. You got your paint, you got your cup from the gun, the viscosity cup so we can measure how thick the fluid is. A little bit of water for thinning, maybe some flow additive, we choose to use that. In this case, I've also got a strainer set up on a stand. If it was old paint, I'd want to strain it first, make sure I get any globs out. So we're going to open the can up here, just pop the lid off. And I'm going to pour a little bit less than a quart of paint in here. It's going to come up to about where the bell curve starts. Just pour it off the can. We're good there. And I talked before about most latex paints are going to need 10% thinning. Your viscosity cup holds exactly 4 ounces of material. If you plug the hole with your finger on the bottom, that's about 11% thinning on a quart of paint, which is just fine. So I'm just going to fill the cup with water, keep my finger over the hole on the bottom, pour that water into the quart of paint. Now, this is an important part. You want to make sure you get that thinning material mixed in with the paint really well. I like to use a paint stick myself because I can feel the paint. You can actually feel how thick it is, and as it mixes in, it'll get thinner. Another trick I use as I'm stirring is I constantly pull the stick out. So I don't know if you can see this, but there's water running off here first and then a layer of paint. It's almost like pulling the blankets off your bed. You pull the top sheet off, there's still another sheet, and then that one can peel off. So as you're mixing and stirring, I would constantly pull my stick out to look at and see how it runs off and see what it looks like here. The reason to do that is it's the experience of mixing the paint, and the more you do it, the more you get used to what that viscosity should be. Now, the tool itself, the Earlex 5500, is rated at 160 seconds. That means anything that runs through our viscosity cup at 160 seconds or less is going to be sprayable. So we're just going to mix this up a little bit more, and I usually take 2 or 3 minutes to do this. And believe me, this is a nice, enjoyable process. You don't want to rush through this stuff. Woodworking is not about getting stuff done now. It's about enjoying the process. So once I've got it mixed in thoroughly and I pull the stick out, I can now see it's one layer peeling off. That means that the water has mixed in with the paint well. At this point, what I want to do is I want to take my viscosity cup. I'm just going to dip that right down into the paint and fill it. And when I pull it out, as soon as it's above the paint level, it'll start draining out of the cup. So you start counting your time now, and you can use a stopwatch or the shop clock. And what you're waiting for is not necessarily that the cup is entirely drained out, but the first time that stream actually breaks. That's when you stop counting. That number is your viscosity rating for the paint. As long as it's less than 160, it's going to spray through the 5500, no problem. So we're just going to say this is already ready. I'm sure it is. You set your viscosity cup aside. Now you can load the gun and go. If you're working on a larger project, I understand you probably want to have more paint than a quart ready. What I suggest is mixing a gallon up at a time. Get it to the viscosity that you want. That way it's consistent. If you're setting it at 120 seconds, the whole gallon gets set at 120 seconds. Now, after you've sprayed for 15 or 20 minutes and emptied the cup, you go back and fill it from a pre-mixed paint that's exactly like the paint you just sprayed. So it keeps the project consistent, it makes it easy for you to move ahead, and it only takes a minute to do. Instead of mixing a quart at a time, which takes a little bit longer with the stirring and the thinning.